A spectrum of colors on a silver rod. We have yellow, white, blue, red, green, and purple on both sides. Now I need you to select any number from 1 to 6, any number at all. 3. You sure you want 3? 3. 1, 2, 3, blue. Focus on blue, concentrate on blue, fill your mind with blue, and watch. Look. But I have to do this trick later on, so I need the spectrum of colors back. Think multicolors, fill your mind with multicolors as you watch. Look. And we're back to the full spectrum of colors once again. Welcome to the explanation for the hot rod. You received a metal rod like this. It might be gold, it might be silver. On one side is a bunch of different gems, multicolors. On the other side, all the gems are one solid color. Now mine is blue. You might have another one depending on which one you bought. But these are not magically coated chemical rods. These don't move, right? The way you make the colors change is essentially sleight of hand. I'd say it's intermediate level sleight of hand. It does require some practice, but it's not that hard. So there are two things you need to do to make the magic happen. Number one, you have to make someone pick blue. But how do you make them pick blue? Well, there's something called a force, F-O-R-C-E, as in may the force be with you. Magicians use a force to make somebody pick something, whether it's a playing card or a color or whatever. A magician makes somebody choose something that the magician wants, but they give the audience member who's helping the impression that it's a totally free choice. Pretty cool, right? So let me show you how you get them to choose blue. So you might remember that you have them name any number from 1 to 6. Any number at all, it doesn't matter. If they say 1, you're going to spell 1. Not count, but spell. And you start spelling from this end. Because remember, the blue is right there. So 1, O-N-E, blue. 2, T-W-O. You still end up on blue, so you have to spell blue. 3 is a little easier because it's more logical. You count. 1, 2, 3. And then 4, of course, I bet you can guess. Yes, from the other end, you count. 1, 2, 3, 4, blue. 5, you spell F-I-V-E, blue. And 6, you spell from this end again, S-I-X. Now later on, I'm going to explain a way to do it where you count or spell from left to right, which is more logical, right? You could do it up or down or whatever, but it's more logical to spell or count from left to right. So I'll talk about that later. So that's part one, that's how you get them to pick blue. But what about making the color change magically? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn a move called the paddle move, P-A-D-D-L-E, paddle move. What is the paddle move? Well, the paddle move is a magic move that allows you, it's a sleight of hand, that allows you to show the same side of this rod twice. The illusion is that you're showing the same side. Now, in reality, if I held the rod like this and I turned my right hand palm down, everybody would see the blue spots or the blue gems on the other side, right? Well, the paddle move, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to literally show this side twice. Now, you may have already guessed how I did that, but let me explain. The paddle move is made up of 2 actions. Action number 1 is you're holding the rod, fingers underneath, thumb on top. Now, if you're left-handed, just reverse the actions. Your thumb pushes the rod, so your thumb moves to your left. Of course, this perspective is from your perspective, right? Not from the audience. The audience is out there. So you basically give the rod a half turn. It's a half turn because you're going past this end and you're continuing, so it's a half turn, right? A full turn, you'd actually go like this, but that's not what you're going to do. So a half turn with the thumb. Before you even continue this video, just practice this. Get used to turning the rod a half turn. It's not actually the easiest thing to do because the gems stick out so far. There are, like the magic stick I also sell that's very similar. It's flat. It's a lot easier to learn. This rod is nice and heavy. It's a beautiful rod. It's a little harder to operate because not only of the weight, but because the gems stick out. So practice this half turn. Just keep doing it. Make it as crisp as you can. Try not to do it like wobbly or anything. Just try to make it nice and crisp. But that's the first thing you have to do with this paddle move. But there's another action that you do simultaneously that makes the illusion happen. The simultaneous action is your right hand turns inward, palm down, as you show the audience the other side. Now remember, you don't want them to see the blue gems immediately, right? You want them to see the multicolors. So you're combining this larger action, right, with the smaller flip action. And when you do them at the same time, you get the illusion that you're showing both sides, when in reality you're showing the multicolored side twice. So I'll do it in slow motion so you can fully get how this happens. Again, your right thumb pushes to the left. Now start to turn your right hand inward, palm down. Notice that my thumb continues to push that half turn. By the time you're done, or by the time your right hand is done flipping palm down, your right thumb is done flipping the rod a half turn. Now you have to go do everything in reverse, so watch. I'm doing it in slow motion so you can see. Okay? And I'll get a little closer. Hopefully the focus it'll maintain focus. But watch. See? So you've got to practice this in the mirror over and over again until you can do it without thinking too much. Notice how the larger action covers the smaller action. They don't see this action because the larger action kind of covers it. So that's the hot rod move, otherwise known as the paddle move. So that's how you get the colors to change. Okay, now you might be wondering, well, how do you get the colors to change from all multicolors to the blue or whatever color you have? There are a number of ways to do this. I'll give you the easiest. The easiest way is simply cover the rod with your other hand. Don't have your fingers apart, have them together. Cover it like this. Under cover of the hand, do that half turn. So let me show you what it looks like in full speed. Watch. See, it looks magical. And then you could also do it backward as well. So that's how you can change the rod magically. Now you may have noticed in the demonstration, I also kind of turned the rod this way. Well, it's the same thing that I just showed you. You cover the rod, under cover of the hand, you flip the rod, you do that half turn. But then at the very end of it, instead of just showing your lifting your hand, your middle finger kind of catches the rod a little bit and you spin it. Now notice my fingers are open now, but you don't want your fingers open. When you actually do it, I'll do it without any cover so you can see what happens. Now let me do it with the cover. See? Now, of course, the audience is out there. The audience is not going to see the underside of your hand. This is only for demonstration purposes. So cover, under cover of the hand, you flip it a half turn, and then your middle finger kind of catches it. You'll figure it out because then you just spin it like this. Just rotate it like that. And then, of course, to change the colors back again, same thing. So you can do that. You could also change it by simply reaching out, and on the, I guess, apex of the movement, your thumb does that half turn and you come back. So here's what it looks like at full speed. So you could magically change it that way as well. So there you have it. Those are the things you need to know in terms of the sleight of hand. So a full performance is this. You come out and you talk about the spectrum of colors, and you can name the colors, purple, green, red, blue, white, and yellow on both sides. That's when you do the paddle move. Supposedly show both sides. Then you do the force that I showed you, which is whatever number they name. Now here's that thing I was telling you about. If they say 1, 2, or 3, or 6 for that matter, you have to start spelling or counting from this end, don't you? Well, in that case, just use a very natural gesture. Say, name any number from 1 to 6, anything at all. Let's say they say 3. You say 3. Are you sure you want 3? And notice when I say, are you sure you want 3? So the rod begins in sort of a vertical position, but then you say, are you sure you want 3? And then you adjust your hand. Now remember, the audience is out there. So now you can counter spell from left to right. So if they pick a number that you have to count from the other end, well, then just reverse your gesture. So they might say 6, right? Oh, actually, you know what? I have this backward, actually. I apologize. I was thinking that red was the force color, blue. So blue is the force color. So you say, name any number from 1 to 6. And they say 3, for example. You say, are you sure you want 3? Sure. Now notice how I positioned it. So now I count 1, 2, 3, and it's all set up for blue. Does that make sense? Apologies for any confusion. Now, if you need to count from the other end, let's say they say 4. Well, instead of turning your hand this way, they say 4, you say, great, are you sure you want 4? You're positive. And so you count 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how my hand already moved this way a little bit. And don't forget, when you're going to be doing this probably standing up. So it's a lot easier to tilt your hand this way when you're actually doing it. So again, if they say 4, you say 4. You sure you want 4? And that allows your hand to sort of pivot this way. Then you can count from their left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, blue. So I hope that is clear. So they name any number. You gesture. You sure you want 3? 1, 2, 3, think blue. Make them concentrate on the color blue. And then do the magical change however you want to do it. Do another paddle move to show both sides. And then say, well, I have to do this trick again. Think multicolors. And then do the same kind of change move. And then do the paddle move again to show both sides. And you're done with the trick.